U.S. public schools took a stance on Israel and Hamas. The backlash was swift. The politicalization of education has resulted in schools becoming culture war battlegrounds, often leading to more division than solidarity. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. According to The Guardian, on 7th October, the day Hamas attacked Israel and the country began bombarding Gaza, the superintendent of the Los Angeles Unified School District posted on social media, quote, "We stand with Israel," close quote. Weeks later, the teachers union in Oakland, California issued a statement, quote, "The Israeli government created an apartheid state," close quote. It read, quote, "We unequivocally condemn the 75-year-long illegal military occupation of Palestine," close quote. Both statements were met with almost immediate backlash from the community, parents, teachers, and even politicians, who either disagreed with the content of the announcements or were befuddled by why a local school district would take a position on a complex global conflict. It's not just California. In Massachusetts, two school district superintendents were lambasted for insufficiently calling out Hamas in the statements they issued shortly after the conflict began. And the Minneapolis Teachers Union sparked controversy when it issued a statement calling for humanitarian aid to Gaza and for a boycott of Israel. Across the U.S., public schools have been taking stances on the war, often leading to more division than solidarity. Districts have repeatedly found themselves in hot water over their approaches. While some of the statements lacked context or were issued prematurely, leading to retractions, the backlash is part of a nationwide politicalization of the education sector. Experts say, especially in kindergarten to 12th grade, K through 12 public school districts where school boards in recent years have become culture war battlegrounds. Over the past few years, schools have increasingly become sites of conflict, said John Rogers, professor of education at the University of California, Los Angeles, who researches issues related to democracy, education, and inequality. That has made schools more contentious spaces and education politics more partisan. In some ways, what's happening in K through 12 schools reflects broader societal divisions over the Israel-Hamas war. Whether it's on college campuses, in workplaces, or in government. But experts say there are other dynamics at play in public schools that have set the stage for the uproar seen today. In recent years, schools have become under attack by right-wing extremist organizations like Moms for Liberty that launch conflict campaigns to bring partisan debates into schools in order to sow distrust in public institutions, Rogers says. Usually they target lessons on racism or LGBTQ plus issues and encourage book bans. These groups exert most of their efforts in purple and blue districts. No surprise there, including in regions around Los Angeles and the San Francisco Bay Area, experts say. These groups aren't fueling the school-based tensions around Israel and Gaza, but Rogers says their fringe methods have normalized the airing of political grievances in education. Another factor lies in pandemic-area school closures, where classrooms were swiftly fettered to prevent the spread of COVID, said John Vallant, senior fellow at the Brookings Institute and director of its Brown Center for Education Policy, unhappy with the space of reopening and the institution of mask mandates. Parents and community members showed up in the school board meetings in unprecedented numbers to voice their grievances. Well, then just don't wear the mask. How about that? What came out of it was a lot of parents getting frustrated and mobilized, Vallant said, adding that those same organizing methods spread to other issues, from the racial reckoning following the 2020 murder of George Floyd to the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion, known as DEI, efforts. Schools have become a magnet for any political controversy in ways we haven't seen before, he said. There is heightened attention and sensitivity in schools to all kinds of political issues right now. Together, taken together, these factors have made it so that schools are struggling to generate productive discussions about complex issues, and they have put teachers and administrators on the defense, leading some administrators to see official statements as ways of getting ahead of pressure from parents or community members. As educators have been targeted for supposedly teaching critical race theory or advancing a woke agenda for supporting transgender students aimed school board fights, many teachers today are concerned about how bringing contentious topics into their curriculum may impact their own careers. Teachers are generally not engaging because they're also fearful of being reported, said Andrine Castro, assistant professor of education leadership at Virginia Commonwealth University. In Alameda County, for instance, one Palestinian American teacher expressed concerns that having their students read texts written by Palestinian authors could lead to repercussions. Let me get this straight. You want our people, black people, to learn about all of the garbage and trash that have been perpetuated for centuries from all these different writers with the N word and all this garbage and trash inside these books, which are still in print. Books like Of Mice and Men and some of the other writings. But you all have a problem with us teaching about actual slavery and how it impacted a disenfranchised group of people, how it destroyed a nation, and how our ancestors, who were never welcome to this country, never had a voice, stripped of religion and culture, identity, and the dehumanization of them, the horrors of it. But you don't want that taught in schools. But you want MAGAism and Republicanism and evangelicalism taught in their schools. I don't think so. Now let's get back to this article. But while decrying an incident for which there is a consensus of opinion, such as mass shootings, can be straightforward, drawing a line in the sand regarding a contentious global conflict can rile people up, especially in districts with diverse student populations, explained Rogers. Statements don't work as well in climates where there are cross-cutting values or interests in the community, he said. Such is the case in Oakland, where school district officials have come to a head with teachers who have called for a teach-in focused on Palestinian history. What's more, in cases where schools or local governments bundled statements and had to issue retractions, their efforts to get ahead of an issue spurred new problems. There's a need for a good deal of complex and nuanced understanding in order to contextualize the issue that sometimes educators will not have access to, Rogers continued. For Aline Ariza, Executive Director of a National Education Advocacy Organization, Parents Together, there is at least one binding thread when it comes to parents' interest, student safety. Ariza says that in the weeks following 7 October, she heard from a number of parents who were concerned about the targeting of Jewish and Muslim students. Days after the war began, a Palestinian American boy was stabbed to death in an alleged hate crime. For these parents, Ariza said, having access to practical resources about tolerance and bullying, not assertive political statements, was top of mind. They just want their kids to be safe, she said. The chief concern for educators, experts, is that the turmoil happening outside of their classroom directs resources away from the facilitation of critical conversations around Israel and Palestine. Within them, when you pretend like these things are not happening, students become disengaged, said Castro, thinking back to 2012 when Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old black boy, was killed by a member of the Neighborhood Community Watch in Florida. At the time, Castro was teaching high school in a diverse district. She said that the unspoken rule among her colleagues was not to bring the event into the classroom. Why? It was racially motivated in every essence of the word, whether you want to say it or not. That's what it is. There was a similar silence. You know what? I'm going to leave it right there. Deal with it. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender. Never quit.